We live in interesting times. Today's stories. Hong Kong protesters flood city streets in a peaceful march. 10,000 are homeless after a fire razes a Bangladesh slum. Kabul suicide bombing kills more than 60. A Spanish charity says 27 miners to leave an Italy migrant ship. U.S.-Mexico border closure results in long lines for pedestrians and cars.
Americana es que cuando hay grupos de personas que los
Trump tells New Hampshire crowd China is, quote, eating the tariffs.
We are making America great again.
Dwelling rallies in Portland end with no major violence.
Attempts right now in our country to hate our country, to hate the flag.
Jeffrey Epstein's death is ruled as suicide by hanging. Plus, Iceland commemorates its first glacier loss to climate change. I'm Rose Papa Angeles with Eagle News, broadcasting from Washington, D.C., bringing you stories from around the globe. A sea of democracy activists flooded the streets of Hong Kong Sunday in a defiant show to the city's leaders that their movement still pulls wide public support, despite mounting violence and increasingly stark warnings from Beijing. Tens of thousands of protesters carrying umbrellas poured across the heart of Hong Kong Island, defying torrential rain and a police order not to march from a park where they had gathered earlier for a rally. Weeks of demonstrations have plunged the financial hub crisis, with images of masked black-clad protesters engulfed by tear gas during street battles against riot police, stunning a city once renowned for its stability. Sunday's action, the largest rally in weeks which continued into the night, was billed by organizers as a return to the peaceful origins of the leaderless protest movement. Danny Tam, a 28-year-old graphic designer, said, quote, "It's been a long day and we're very tired, but to see so many people out in the rain marching for Hong Kong gives strength to everyone." The unprecedented political crisis was sparked by opposition to a plan to allow extraditions to the Chinese mainland. But protests have since morphed into a wider call for democratic rights in the semi-anonymous city. Anger has been sharpened among protesters by the perceived heavy-handedness of the police, who have used tear gas, baton charges, and rubber bullets in incidents that have pinballed across social media. Officials said Sunday at least 10,000 people are homeless after a massive fire swept through a crowded slum in the Bangladesh capital and destroyed thousands of shanties. Fire Services official Irshad Hossain said the fire broke out in Dhaka's Minfor neighborhood late on Friday and razed around 2,000 mostly tin shacks.
তো এখন এই তিনটা বাচ্চার আগামী মাসে তাদের পরীক্ষা, এখন তাদের বই খাতা কাপড় চোপড় স্কুল ড্রেস বলতে কোনো কিছুই নেই। এখন আমার মতো 10টা করে প্রত্যেকের বাচ্চাদের একই অবস্থা। আগুন যখন লাগছে তখন আমার এক লোকটা কইলো আগুন আগুন আমার হেনতেন হেনতাছে হয়েছে, তখন উপর নিচে দেখি আমার রুম তো দোতলা, মাসার দোতলা করছি, চা দিয়ে ওই কোনার ভিতরে আগুন যাওয়ার পরে থেকে আমার ছেলে মাছ শিখিরে বাইরে তাড়াতাড়ি আগুন এই যে আমি ঠিক ঘরের কোনা পড়ছে, তুমি তাড়াতাড়ি বাইরে, আমার কিছু লাগবে না, তুমি তাড়াতাড়ি তুমি বাইরে। আমার
ডিগ্রিতে পড়ি, নতুন ইয়ারে উঠছি, বই খাতা কিনছি নতুন ভাবে যে পড়াশোনা করবো, আমার 5 বছর চলতেছে। এখন তারপর যাবতীয় জামা কাপড় থেকে শুরু করে মেশিন ছিল, তারপরে টেলিভিশন আরো অনেক কিছু যাবতীয় অনেক কিছু ছিল, র্যাক আলমারি থেকে শুরু করে সব পুড়ে গেছে।
Firefighters said authorities eventually got the blaze under control and no one was killed, although several people had minor injuries. Many residents, largely low-income garment factory workers, were not in the slum as they had left their homes to celebrate the Muslim Eid al-Adha holiday with their families. Joy and celebration turned into horror and carnage when an Islamic State suicide bomber targeted a packed Afghan wedding hall, killing at least 63 people in the deadliest attack to rock Kabul in months, officials and witnesses said Sunday. The massive blast, which took place late Saturday in West Kabul, came as Washington and the Taliban finalized a deal to reduce the U.S. military presence in Afghanistan and hopefully build a roadmap to a ceasefire. The groom recalled greeting smiling guests in the afternoon before seeing their bodies being carried out hours later. The young man, who gave his name as Mirwa, told local TV station Tolo News the attack, quote, changed my happiness to sorrow. The Spanish charity operating the ships said Saturday 27 unaccompanied minors have been authorized to leave a migrant rescue vessel in limbo off Italy. Proactive Open Arms tweeted after far-right Interior Minister Matteo Salvini reluctantly authorized this embarkation, quote, they will be evacuated by Coast Guard Lampedusa. Salvini wrote in a letter to Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte that he could authorize the, quote, alleged minors to leave the open arms ship despite such a move being divergent to my orientation. The 106 adults and 2 accompanied minors must remain on board. Up next, U.S.-Mexico border closure results in long lines for pedestrians and cars. Trump tells New Hampshire crowd China is, quote, eating the tariffs. Dwelling rallies in Portland end with no major violence. Jeffrey Epstein's death is ruled as suicide by hanging. Plus, Iceland commemorates its first glacier loss to climate change. These stories when Eagle News returns. We'll be right back.
Health is our most important asset, and it should always be a constant effort to seek ways to take care of it. That includes professional medical help from the best available. The Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated is known as one of the most specialized centers in medical services, backed by several experienced physicians in Chinese medicine. At an accuracy rate of 98%, countless patients who visited Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated have already been treated and cured.
Marami ko ospital na napuntahan, pero wala ring nangyayari. Somebody introduced me to Manila-Beijing Medical Associated. After 2 treatments, gumanda ang pakiramdam ko.
My friends introduced me Manila-Beijing Medical Associated, and luckily, I got cured. So I sincerely want to thank the doctors of Manila-Beijing Medical Associated.
For the past 30 years, ang dami ko nang na-take na mga gamot. Nothing happened to me. So until one my friend introduced me to Manila-Beijing Medical Associated, you know what? All my illness was cured.
For any health problems or incurable diseases, you can visit Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated, located at 843B Sabino Padilla Street, Binondo, Manila.
Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News. The surprise closure of the Paso del Norte International Bridge that connects Mexico to the U.S. city of El Paso in Texas resulted in long lines for pedestrians and those attempting to cross by vehicle.
Que tenemos y bueno, una política de la autoridad americana es que cuando hay grupos de personas que los superan en número en cuanto a oficiales, por medida de seguridad cierran el puente. Entonces se atravesaron las barreras en la zona de automóviles y se impidió la circulación desde las 9:35 de la noche aproximadamente, también para peatones. Eran de nacionalidad mexicana principalmente, son migrantes del sur del país, algunos del estado de Zacatecas, de Durango.
Desde que pasamos nomás había 2 familias allá afuera y eran señoras y niños, es más, hasta nos dieron lástima porque están acostaditos en el suelo. Y ya cuando pasamos que nos pararon, les dijeron que había una amenaza de que había muchos que iban a venir, pero no había nada, nosotros no vimos nada.
President Donald Trump told a crowd of more than 10,000 supporters at a campaign rally in New Hampshire, China is, quote, not happy about the trade war with the U.S. and the tariffs are working.
We are doing very well with China, despite the fact that they want to have you believe to the contrary. All you have to do is say, China, how you doing? They're not too happy. They're not too happy. They're losing millions of jobs. The tariffs are working, and they're eating the tariffs, by the way. There's no price increase. You know, you got to talk to these people. It'll be wonderful to make a deal. I don't think we're ready to make a deal. We're taking in billions of dollars in tariffs. And again, China's devaluing their currency. They're pouring out money. The prices haven't gone up, so that means we're taking in billions of dollars. We're not paying for it. And ultimately, their devaluations are going to hurt them very badly.
Trump also spoke about firearms and the need for more mental hospitals.
We are working very hard to make sure we keep guns out of the hands of insane people and those who are mentally sick and shouldn't have guns. But people have to remember, however, that there is a mental illness problem that has to be dealt with. It's not the gun that pulls the trigger, it's the person holding the gun. We're going to have to give major consideration to building new facilities for those in need. We have to do it. And at the same time, we will be taking mentally deranged and dangerous people off of the streets, so we won't have to worry so much about that.
A far-right rally and a leftist counter-demonstration in the city of Portland, Oregon, wrapped up Saturday amid a heavy police presence with no major incidents, following fears that violent clashes would break out. President Donald Trump had tweeted that the city was being watched very carefully. Hopefully, the mayor will be able to properly do his job. A police spokeswoman said police were out in force, keeping the opposing camps apart as demonstrators converged on a waterfront park. Authorities arrested at least 13 people, but there were no serious injuries.
There's a huge attempt right now in our country to hate our country, to hate the flag. They don't say hate freedom, but that's the goal. They want us to hate freedom. So right now, you know, people on the West Coast are fed up. You know, from California all the way to Washington, a lot of us are fed up.
Authorities had seized batons, homemade shields, bear repellent spray, even curtain rods. According to witnesses following the dispersal of the rally, small groups of opposing demonstrators broke into scuffles, attacking each other with their fists and pepper spray. Saturday's far-right gathering was organized in part by a group that calls itself the Proud Boys and says its members are young, quote, Western chauvinist men. The Southern Poverty Law Center, a major civil rights organization, has classified the Proud Boys as a hate group. News reports said its leaders say the goal of the Portland rally was to have the so-called Antifa movement declared a domestic terror organization. Antifa stands for anti-fascist and refers to a loose international coalition of activists and protesters who oppose far-right ideology. There have been scattered incidents of violence reportedly involving Antifa members. Trump tweeted, quote, major consideration is being given to naming Antifa an organization of terror. He did not elaborate. Portland, one of the most liberal U.S. cities, is an Antifa stronghold, and the local Rose City Antifa had urged people to defend Portland against far-right attack. According to police, more than 1,000 people gathered in downtown Portland for the rally and counter demonstration. Authorities shut down downtown streets. Scores of riot police kept a close watch over the events as boats patrolled the Willamette River dividing the city. Right-wing activists, including the Proud Boys, brandished American flags, while others sported red caps with Trump's Make America Great Again slogan from his 2016 presidential campaign.
For us, it's great because no one got hurt, no one got arrested on our side. We got to go say what we wanted, and at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. There should be no time link to that.
Meanwhile, the counter-demonstration included Antifa members dressed all in black, many wearing masks.
This is our city, this is where we live, this is where we keep our friends and family safe. They might think something very similar, but the only thing we hate about them is the fact that they just don't like us for the sake of existing. We don't like them because of that reason. And our presence here just shows that we're not scared of them.
An autopsy on disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, who was found dead in his jail cell, has concluded that he committed suicide by hanging. The ruling, first reported by the New York Times, comes 6 days after the 66-year-old, who was accused of trafficking girls as young as 14 for sex, was found dead. The newspaper said the official results of the New York City Medical Examiner's investigation into how Epstein died showed that the wealthy hedge fund manager had killed himself. It cited officials as saying that Epstein had used a bed sheet to hang himself. The report came a day after U.S. media reported that preliminary findings from the post-mortem examination had found broken bones in Epstein's neck. The Washington Post and the New York Times cited sources familiar with the autopsy report as saying Epstein had broken the hyoid bone near his Adam's apple. Epstein, a multimillionaire, was charged with 1 count of sex trafficking of minors and 1 count of conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minors. According to prosecutors, Epstein sexually exploited dozens of teenagers at his homes in Manhattan and Florida between 2002 and 2005. Iceland on Sunday honored the passing of Öksüt, its first glacier lost to climate change, as scientists warned that some 400 others on the subarctic island risk the same fate. A bronze plaque will be unveiled in a ceremony starting around 1400 GMT to mark Öksüt, which translates to OK Glacier, in the west of Iceland, in the presence of local researchers and their peers at Rice University in the United States, who initiated the project. Iceland's Prime Minister Katrín Jakobsdóttir, Environment Minister Gudmundur Ingi Gudbrandsson, and the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Mary Robinson are also due to attend the event. Simon Howe, Associate Professor of Anthropology at Rice University, said in July, quote, "This will be the first monument to a glacier lost to climate change anywhere in the world. The plaque bears the inscription, 'A Letter to the Future,' and is intended to raise awareness about the decline of glaciers and the effects of climate change. The plaque reads, quote, 'In the next 200 years, all our glaciers are expected to follow the same path.' This monument is to acknowledge that we know what is happening and what needs to be done. Only you know if we did it." It is also labeled 415 ppm CO2, referring to the record label of carbon dioxide measured in the atmosphere last May. Researcher House said, quote, "Memorials everywhere stand for either human accomplishments, like the deeds of historic figures, or the losses and deaths we recognize as important. By memorializing a fallen glacier, we want to emphasize what is being lost or dying the world over, and also draw attention to the fact that this is something that humans have accomplished, although it is not something we should be proud of." That is this week's Eagle News. Join us next week for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I am Rose Papa Angeles, and I'm always one with 25.